There are a lot of videos out there on guns for a post-apocalyptic future or the sudden collapse of civilization. But what about guns for an economic depression? The Great Depression 2.0. And I'm not saying we're going into one, but us having another economic depression, that's a lot more likely to happen than the sudden collapse of civilization. So what guns would be handy to have on hand for just such an event? Well, I don't know, but let's see if we can't look to the past and what they did during the last depression and see if we can't learn something. I said last time that we'd be shooting the 1885 Winchester today and trying for that sub-half MOA 5-shot group at 500 yards, but the weather did not cooperate. We've got a low-pressure system moving in, and it has been windy the last few days, and now it's windy and rain moving in and not conducive to shooting at distance. But I have enjoyed shooting this rifle over the last few weeks. And several times while I was out there, I couldn't help but to think about just how fortunate I am to be able to go out target shooting for no other purpose than just the pure fun of target shooting. I mean, just truly blessed. But I also noticed that the price of ammunition is a lot higher than it used to be. And it's getting tougher to go out target shooting just purely for the fun of target shooting, just due to the price of ammo. And then throw in the price of everything else going up. Well, it occurred to me, we're not guaranteed to be able to go out just target shooting in the future. There's no guarantee, nothing there that says we'll be able to afford to do that. All right, well, and that's when I got to thinking seriously, if we were to experience another depression, what firearms would we want on hand? And that's a tough question to answer because so few of us now have ever experienced truly hard times when money truly is difficult to come by. And then that's when I got to thinking, well, us having grown up in such good times, the only way we really can appreciate what happened back then is to look at what they did during the Great Depression. And then, okay, what can we learn from that and apply to what we're doing now? First lesson from the Great Depression is don't assume the firearms that you have now will be legal during such an event. All right. How do you like my Thompson submachine gun here? Yeah, that's right, I don't have one, and that's because of the National Firearms Act of 1934, enacted during the Great Depression. Perhaps the biggest blow to our Constitution, and certainly to the Second Amendment in U.S. history. And the reason that came about is because people voted communists into office. Prior to 1934, I could have ordered a fully automatic Thompson submachine gun straight from the Sears and Roebuck catalog and had it delivered to my house, along with a brand new Browning BAR, fully automatic, 30-06. Communists come into power and they do what communists always do. They promise people something for nothing and security in exchange for their liberty. Sound familiar? So they enacted the National Firearms Act, which made it so normal people couldn't afford fully automatic firearms. Of course, rich people still could, but anyway. So that's the first lesson right there. And the security that they promised but didn't deliver upon was security from crime. And that's our second lesson. Unfortunately, when times get hard, crime rates go up. That's just part of it. And during the Great Depression, crime rates definitely went up. That's the heyday of murderers like Al Capone and bank robbers like Bonnie and Clyde. Yeah. And just look at countries today that are hurting economically. Venezuela, parts of Mexico, South Africa, and so many others. Look at the crime rates there. All right, so that should tell us what we could expect here should a depression occur. All right, so homicides, armed robberies, home invasions, kidnapping, carjackings, and so on. Now, normally I focus on firearms for their utilitarian uses and beneficial uses for right now. Like taking a hunting rifle into the field and using it to get fresh venison for the freezer, which also has the effect of saving you a lot of money. But during an economic Depression, I think all of us are going to want firearms, if legal, for personal protection. Okay, and that's what a lot of people did during the Great Depression. This is a Colt pocket positive and .32 long, 6-shot revolver, and this particular one was probably made in the 1920s, but it was carried during the 30s, and this was actually carried by a family member, mine, distant family member, and she carried it in her purse. And I bought this one for Mrs. River. She said she wanted pearls. I thought, hey, that's a good idea, pearl grip. So anyway, I got her this. But this is just a really good example of what so many people would have carried during that time for personal protection. Okay, now today, we have social media. And as a result, a lot of crimes have become social events. So if possible, I'd want higher capacity magazines. And so for today, my first choice as far as just everyday carry is Beretta Model 84 FS 380, 13 round magazine, and this could be useful during a depression. And if crime were really bad, maybe a Beretta Model 92 FS, 9mm with 18 round capacity. And that's for something I think all of us would want to keep on us at all times if we could. And for home defense, maybe a shotgun like the venerable old Remington 870 pump. These have been useful for a while, and they're great for home defense and other uses as well. A lot of you have ARs. That would be an excellent option for home defense. And for me, I think my Ruger Mini 14 would be a good option. Okay, so there's lots of options out there for home defense, but that's something we would need to keep in mind. Third lesson from the Great Depression is we would still want firearms for their utilitarian uses. Okay, so for hunting, putting food on the table, keeping foxes out of the hen house, and so on. And so many people had firearms then for just that. And we have so many great options today for that. Firearms like this Winchester Model 70 Featherweight. This would be a great option. Great for big game. Old Remington Model 700 and 30-06. All right, depending on where you live, maybe a much more versatile cartridge for hunting. Then we have the old Winchester Model 94 lever action, old 30-30. Again, still a great option for game. And finally, we would want to be able to hunt small game. So this old Remington 514 here would be just about perfect. 22 long rifle, little single shot. And the old shotgun's great for that too. Okay, so I think with what we have here, we would be all set for the Great Depression, or Great Depression 2.0. The problem is, this is thinking like we think now. Okay, so should such an event occur, I don't think it would be anything like it is now. Okay, if this scope were to break on this Model 70 Featherweight here, I don't know that I would have the money to replace this scope. And this rifle does not have iron sights on it, so that would render this rifle useless. So I don't know that this would be a good option. If we fell into a depression, a serious one, big game populations are likely going to dwindle fast. All right, there were no big game to speak of during the Great Depression, but due to poaching here, there would be fewer and fewer game available. States would tighten up their laws as far as hunting laws, and they would reduce the amount of animals that could be harvested until eventually big game just wouldn't be a reliable source for food. Okay, in such a situation, I don't know that I would need this 30-06 BDL for hunting, absence of big game. So I would probably end up selling this one. And we would be selling a lot of things during such times. Okay, venerable outdoor writer Jack O'Connor. He mentioned in one of his books, he talked about during the Great Depression, he had to sell, I think he said, all but one of his rifles. So even he wasn't immune to the economic hardships of the time. Okay, so we would have to make some serious decisions on what to keep and what to let go. And okay, right now, looking at what I've got here, Mini 14 and the Winchester 30-30. The Mini 14, I would say, is definitely better for home defense than the old Winchester 30-30. But if times were really tough, I could let one of these go, and it just, depending on the crime rate, I suspect after the initial crime wave that would most likely occur, things would begin to settle down, crime wouldn't be as bad. And by that point, I'd probably be in most need of money. So if I had to let one of these two go, it would probably be the Mini 14. The old 30-30, it wouldn't be ideal for home defense, but it would certainly work. It can fire pretty quickly, and it still harvests big game reliably. So, very utilitarian and useful rifle. They last for pretty much ever, so this would be a good one to have around the house. I would probably rely a lot more on small game. I definitely want to keep the 22 if possible. The shotgun. Yeah, this would definitely have its uses. As a matter of fact, if I had to get rid of everything long gun wise and couldn't have but one, it would be this one. All right, because it is so versatile. It can do home defense, and it can do big game hunting, and it can do small game hunting. On the handguns, I don't need the Beretta 92 and the Model 84, so I would probably have to let the 94 or the 92 go. I mean, I'm most likely going to be in need of all the cash I could get, and this is the one I normally carry. Now, of these two, again, like with the Mini 14 and the Model 94, it just depends on just how bad crime is. If things aren't as bad as they were, and I truly were in need of money, I would probably let the Model 84 go and keep the Colt. Again, this would not be ideal, but it is a good little pocket pistol, and I wouldn't be completely defenseless. And what I would be left with is old single shot 22, a lever action 30-30, a 12 gauge pump, and a little Colt pocket pistol and 32 long. And this is probably exactly what you would find in the average home during the Great Depression. So that makes me wonder, do we choose the things that we have, or is it the times and circumstances that we live in that choose what we have? I'm sure at this point you can hear in the background while we aren't out shooting the 1885 today. The rain is here, and it is noisy on this old tin roof. But I thought this was a good conversation to have. We have had it so good for so long, a lot of us don't even stop to think about things like battery-powered optics. We just assume we're always going to be able to just run to the store and go buy batteries. But what if we can't? Anyway, it's just something worth considering, that's all. And I'm not saying we're going to have economic hard times ahead. I'm just saying it's a possibility. It's always a possibility, however unlikely. Okay, now something else to keep in mind. Take a moment tomorrow to think about those who sacrificed everything so that we could have it so good right now. Tomorrow's Memorial Day, and this is Memorial Weekend, and the whole point of Memorial Day, it isn't to honor those that serve. It's to honor those that served and sacrificed everything. Take a moment to remember them. God bless, and have a solemn weekend and a solemn Memorial Day.